everybody. We're visiting again with Marion Sherratt, a caregiving activist. And we were talking a couple of weeks ago about the situations that people face when they suddenly become the caregiver at home. And I wanted to have you back so that we could talk a little more about a specific example of the predicaments that people get themselves into and how you should start to manage your situation if you find yourself a caregiver. So Marion, thank you for joining me again.
Pleasure, yeah. It's very difficult because caregiving, as I said before, can come in two different ways. It can come quickly with a diagnosis or an accident, or it can come slowly over time. One of the women that I interviewed for my research, this is a story that she gave me, that she cared for her mother who had dementia. And she had to get up early in the morning, clean up her mother, dress her, get her fed, then get her children out the house, and then wait for the bus to come and take her mother to a day activity center. And as the bus would arrive, her mother would make a mess. And I don't have to go into great detail, but we know what we're talking about. It's not just spilling a cup of coffee. And her mother had to be, I could not send my mother out, basically with a soiled diaper. So she missed the bus, had to do that, had to take her mother to daycare herself, and arrived at work late again. And as she walked in, the boss did this.
Yeah.
Meaning, you're on the verge of being fired. And I think this is the situation that so many women now, and men, but primarily women, are caught in. They're trying to keep their loved ones at home, do the best they can. We're encouraged to stay at home, age in place. But we have to work. We have to put food on the table. And how do we balance all of that?
And sometimes there isn't even a possibility of putting them into some kind of a home. Just financially, you have to keep them with you.
You have to keep them with you, but while you're working, you can't leave.
Right.
People at home alone can't afford to have someone come into the home. If you have a place in a day center, you have to get them there and get them back. And then, as we talked about before, during the night, you don't get a full night's sleep because somebody's up, going to the toilet, calling out. So it's caregiving, the unpaid family caregiving is very often 24/7, no day off.
Yeah. And the situation just escalates over time.
Yes, and that's the unfortunate part. It's not like parenting where we hope that one day they will graduate high school and go off to college.
No,
it's not that kind of situation.
I have had it explained to me that it's like continually trying to dig sand out of a hole, but the sand just keeps filling in faster and faster, and it's emotionally draining, and it's on a certain way, it doesn't matter how positive, how loving, how gentle you are, it's a very defeating sort of experience because no matter what you do, eventually it's not enough.
Yes.
Do you find that a lot of people here in Bermuda are very hesitant to talk about the situations that they're dealing with at home, particularly at work?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, their jobs are on the line, you know, and they start off keeping it to themselves, keeping quiet. But what does also happen is a quiet network of support might build in that workplace. When you have to run out for an hour to take your mom to the doctor or whatever, somebody might just cover for you. You know, when you make the phone call, oh, she's in a meeting, there might be a network. And the employers really need to get on board with this because they're losing in productivity, but they're also losing in good employees.
And also, I assume there would also be situations where the employer would be more accommodating of a good worker if they really understood what the situation was, and it wasn't a person who'd suddenly lost interest or didn't care or didn't think timeliness was important.
Because for many of the family caregivers, and again it's primarily women, they don't take the promotion, they don't take on the new client, they might lose a client. This kind of thing will happen. Whereas if the employer is informed, the HR department is informed, they can support that individual, and the research shows that in return they get unbridled loyalty and appreciation.
Absolutely do. Yeah,
and
that's
you
true.
will find that if people have to work part-time for a while, they'll balance that. They'll come in on a Saturday morning or whatever.
You
know.
just do what it takes to
Absolutely,
get the job done.
to get the job done.
Yeah.
And there's no real preparation for that role. You asked me what we can do to prepare. We really can't. But what all the literature says for these family caregivers, the first rule of thumb is take your oxygen first.
Yes.
You
You
at
have to
some
breathe,
point you
yes.
have to breathe. At
Yeah.
some point you have to go out for a walk. And in some, you just have to get away. You have to have breaks. And just with naughty children, sometimes you just have to walk away. The family caregiver needs that support. So take your oxygen, ask for help, and when help is offered, actually accept it.
Yeah.
There's a strange dynamic that
Don't
you
feel
begin-
guilty
that you're
when
the
they're-
only
when
person
you're
who can
offered
do
a
it.
break. Yeah, absolutely.
You're the only person who can
Yeah.
care for your loved one the way he or she should be cared for. You can't do it all, and you can't necessarily fix it. And it's getting that understanding that I can't fix this situation. All I can do is do my best in this
Absolutely.
situation. And I think that's a very good message to get out to your listeners.
Thank you so much for taking time to speak with me today, and hopefully we'll generate a little more discussion in the community and between people in this predicament and their employers.